Hi, my name is Jumpy Bernard here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be with you on this Thursday afternoon, the final show we have in July. Up next, August, and the start truly of Alabama football in 2025. We're going to be talking football all throughout the show today as we take a look at what's coming up, plus our headlines for this afternoon show. Our headlines always presented by our friends RJ Young. RJ Young, the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. Let's first of all see who's coming up on the show today. We'll start by talking in the trenches with defensive lineman Tim Keenan III, get his thoughts on everything that was leading up to his final season wearing crimson for Alabama, the family connection he has to the University of Alabama, plus some talk from SEC Media Days 2 weeks ago in Atlanta. Then we'll hear from his head coach, Kalen DeBoer, with Coach's Checklist. His coach met with the media yesterday after the first practice of fall camp. And then we'll round out the show by visiting with a Crimson Tide legend, Bobby Humphrey, who was a great running back for the Crimson Tide in the 1980s. His son Marlon Humphrey, of course, still playing in the NFL with the Baltimore Ravens. And also Bobby gives us insight on Nothing But a Winner, a new film about Alabama football that will be out in theaters starting today. So we're certainly excited to visit with Bobby Humphrey to close out the show. Our headlines, we look at Alabama football only as fall camp has begun at the Thomas Drew practice fields in Tuscaloosa. Yesterday was the first of 20 camp practices. Crimson Tide also practiced this morning in the Alabama heat, so really good work done by Alabama out on the practice field. There's been a lot of news for the Crimson Tide in terms of the watch list. We always talk about different players that get on different watch lists at this time of the season, and for the Crimson Tide football team, so many accolades coming in already as Alabama players are getting on various watch lists. Just to name a few, you look at the top linebacker in the country, Justin Jefferson, named on the Butkus Award watch list along with Deontay Lawson. Caden Proctor also being named to the watch list for the Outland Trophy that goes to the top interior lineman in college football. If you look at the Bronco Nagurski Trophy that goes to the top defensive player on that watch list, you have one of today's guests, Tim Keenan III. Also for that Outland Trophy watch list, Jaden Roberts. Also on the Nagurski watch list, Deontay Lawson. Just so many different watch lists coming out all across college football, really at this time of the year, and Alabama extremely well represented. Also want to note that for select games this season, single game tickets are still available on RolledTide.com. Rolled out a bunch of new tickets earlier this week, so make sure you join us for Alabama football. Really an exciting home schedule this year, and some single game tickets are available again at RolledTide.com. Well, Tim Keenan III coming off a great campaign for the Crimson Tide, someone we visited with around this time last year to talk about his career, his path to Alabama. On this conversation with him that we recorded at the HHL Healthcare Advantage Center, we talked more about just everything in the moment right now, what's leading up to the senior season for the Crimson Tide and everything he can do to help Alabama, not just as a great player, but more so as a leader this season. Here's a fun conversation with one of our favorites on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, Tim Keenan III. Roll Tide and welcome back to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Roger Hoover now pleased to be joined at the LLH Healthcare Advantage Center by Tim Keenan III, a defensive lineman from Birmingham Ramsey High School, now ready for another year with Crimson Tide. Roll Tide, good to see you again.
You know, it's always a good time when you can say that Roll Tide.
Absolutely. You even mentioned that during SEC Media Days. You're from Alabama, you're Roll Tide all the way.
All the way through, I bleed crimson.
Well, it was certainly a good time for you guys in Atlanta a few weeks ago. How much fun was it? First of all, we've talked fashion before with you on this show. You picked out the green suit, and then tell us about that 96 chain.
Oh, yeah, well, you know, the 9-6 is a must. I knew I always wanted a chain like that, and so when things were able to be lined up, you know, I had to go get it. So the 9-6, it represented me all the way through and through, and it really came from a rivals camp I went to. So I did real good, had a lot of good one-on-one, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to pick that for college, you know, because I was number 55 in high school, and then my other number would be 3, or I was going to try to go like, you know, Big Chap, go 9-9 on it, but, you know, no one had 96 yet, so I wanted to make a name for 96.
You certainly have done that with your great play for Alabama. Sticking with media days for a bit, did you enjoy kind of bouncing from room to room, press conferences, one-on-one interviews, things like that, but getting to explain your story a little bit, plus the story of this football team?
Well, you know, I got my degree in communication, so I was, you know, it was a field day for me going from room to room, radio row, you know, having those different interviews with those different people like SEC Network or ESPN. It was real fun for me. I had a great time, especially get to advocate and talk about the things that mean a lot to me in my life, like God, my football team, my fraternity, and just really my family and all what I like to do on a regular day-to-day basis. So I had a great time.
Last time we talked to you in this room, you were getting ready for the 2024 season. What'd you like about that year? And then what went into the decision to make sure you came back and finished your career the right way?
What I liked about that year, I definitely the year before I made a name for myself, and then that year I had a pretty good year, but I still felt like I left some money on the table and things that I could have done better, or had a little bit better technique on or whatever. But for all my reasons, I felt like it was still some money on the table, and thank God that the situation I was in, I had another year eligibility. So if it's there and I needed to use it, then it's it's working out for me pretty well. So I thank God for it all.
And not only you get to come back, Deontay Lawson, Justin Jefferson. I mean, there are so many guys that had the option to leave, or even younger players, transfer portal, things like that. Mm-hmm. What did it mean when all you guys kept making your decisions in December and January to come back to Alabama?
It just shows a group of guys that believe in the program, believe in the coach, believe at what's going on here. Like, we know with just a few fixes we can accomplish what we want to accomplish, but we still gotta work hard every day, be consistent and persistent in everything we do, and keep God first. But just all those guys, we definitely believe in the University of Alabama.
What do you see from this coaching staff as they get ready for year two?
Just they finally had a year to know everybody, adjust to everybody, know everybody like strength and weaknesses, to get a personality check with everybody, pretty much know how to govern with everyone, because in year one they was moving pretty fast. It was kind of like you got to get to know the playbook and all this other stuff. Of course you want to make a bond and build a chemistry, but football first. But now we had a whole year, whole off season together, to build and bond and know our strength and weaknesses. It's been amazing, and I can't wait to display it this upcoming season.
Yeah, what do you think the most important lessons are from last year, just globally as a team?
Just we gotta play the whole game through, the whole 60 minutes. Be very disciplined, and we just gotta execute the coach's plan. We know we're a talented team, but we also gotta make sure we keep the hard work and the attention to detail for when we do go play and execute.
What's been your focus in the weight room?
But really every single day, like Coach Blue, he's been on it. Like it's no fall off with nothing. Like you in there again, super strong. You training to be super fast. So when you got a bunch of strong and fast guys running around there, all you got to do is add the discipline and attention to detail, and you'll be hard to beat.
You're a part of a very talented defensive line room. Some names we know, some names we've seen just a little bit, but now I'm going to have a larger role for this year. Who's impressed you, especially some of those players, like I mentioned, maybe Nedrick Hill, Jordan Renaud, that we could see in a bigger role this year?
Oh, yeah, definitely guys like Edric Hill, Jordan Renaud, James Smith for sure. Like James Smith, he's definitely going to have a breakout year. And I'm not saying those guys, Edric Hill or Jordan Renaud, those guys not going to have a breakout year, but they're definitely going to put people on notice for what they can do. But got guys that transferred in like Kelby Collins, who's coming in, gonna make an impact. Vontae Hearing, who's getting used to the system like that. Young guys like London Simmons, but Jeremiah Beeman, he's been doing a magnificent job in everything he does, as far as like from the work, getting the weight that he needs to be, and just being an overall dominant force. So I'm excited to see what he's gonna do.
Yeah, what does that mean when you're able to see younger players kind of have that right mindset that you as a veteran feel like you have? What does it mean when they're able to show that in this time of the year, getting ready for fall camp?
One is just big kudos to them to be able to adapt to things and, learn the process, and then also just kind of a pat on our back for being able to show them the right way and showing them that, okay, what we doing and what we saying not being in vain. This kid or this, my teammate, he's actually taking in the information. He's trying to get better. And what I'm telling him is, actually, right and positive. So when we see guys that, grasp a concept and not too prideful to, be like, man, he the same age as me. Yeah, I ain't what he's talking about. But to take the coaching and take the, advice and stuff like that is always amazing.
Do you like being a vocal leader?
Yeah, I mean, whether I like it or not, at first, people really don't want to be in that leader, limelight, because that's a lot of responsibility. then to be a vocal leader is, you got extra responsibility because you got to make sure you holding up your end and being accountable to yourself, especially if you're going to call somebody out. So it's just, a privilege and an honor, and the responsibility that come with it. It is what it is. As long as I got God, I can take on anything. So especially being a vocal leader, I make sure I get my guidance and I order my steps from him.
Speaking of leaders, one of the returning captains, the only returning captain this year, Deontay Lawson. How special is it to see the work he's put in to come back from his injury and then lead this defense once again?
D-Law, he's definitely strong-minded. I'm happy I get to, play with him one more year. And, never know. We may be on the same team in the league and whatnot, but, I'm happy that I get to, hold him double teams for him. And the things he's just been through, the way he's battled back, all those things, he's very strong-willed and definitely a field general for sure. Like, I'm really comfortable in my game set and my ability to, especially the playbook, I know it in and out. But just having him out there too, that sense of confirmation, that sense of security, like, okay, cool, we gonna be all good. So D-Law, it means a lot that he came back, and it also helped me. Like, when I said I was coming back, it made me be even more excitement or more joyful for when he announced too.
You've been working hard all summer, strength conditioning work, but also it sounds like working hard on the grill, even hosting some recruits, things like that. How much fun is that to be part of that process?
Oh, I'm a big, get-together guy. Like, I'm quick to throw something on the grill. I love, gatherings. I love, that family vibe. Just hanging out, getting to know one each other. Then, once you hang out, everybody get hungry. So to be able to provide that type of food and to get, good reviews about it and be like, man, is this food good? And they get to meet somebody, talk to people, and just really just build a bond for things they don't even know that's happening. Like, I just hope I create an environment of love and, joyfulness.
What's on the menu?
It just depends on the time frame, but I love to go. We can go chicken on the grill. That's gonna do it right there. That's gonna get you hooked. So that chicken, I throw that chicken on the grill. You gonna love me forever. But we go burgers, hot dogs, ribs, Kaneka sausage. You feel me? You gotta know about that Kaneka.
Love Kaneka sausage.
Everybody don't know about that Kaneka. You gotta go Kaneka with the sausage. You little rotel, and then a little boudin. Throw a couple boudin sleeves on there. That's that shout out to the boot. My boy Big Phil, man, for Darian Mathis, and he put me on to it. That's another big brother of mine who helped mold the way for me as far as like how I looked as for my role model when he was in his 5th year. So it's just funny how things always roll around, but as far as the grilling, man, I still got to work on that brisket, but everything else, I'm pretty confident in my abilities.
I think you're going to get there. I think you're going to get that right bark, and it's going to be completely like you want it.
Yeah.
We've talked before about your family, obviously from Birmingham, Ramsey High School. Just having them get to be around an Alabama football season, get to support you again. How meaningful is that?
It's definitely a blessing, especially to be up the street and to be at the greatest university ever and have them to pretty much be 30 minutes away. I love it, and I thank God for it, especially to, be able to have my parents. Like, I understand how fortunate thing I am, especially with how life goes. Life can be tough sometimes. So I'm just thankful for, my mom and my pops, and my older sister and my younger brother. My younger brother finally he gonna be up here this fall too. He gonna be attending the University of Alabama. So getting to have a year with him in college, I'm really excited. Even though I'm kind of like an old head on the campus and whatnot, but anything he need, I'm gonna make sure he the coolest ever. But he already cool. Like, he really more cool than me. Like, he know more people than I do. So I'm happy for him. And then Big Sis, she started it all. With coming to the University of Alabama and graduating and everything. So it's a family affair up here in Tuscaloosa with the Keenan family.
That's awesome. We'll get you out of here on this. What is this football team capable of in 2025?
I feel like we're capable of anything we put our mind to, but we got to put in the work. We got to make sure we work hard. Like, the talent, we got the talent, but the talent got to work hard, and it got to be an everyday basis. It can't be some games or some practices. It got to be an everyday basis, and we can achieve what we want to if we put our mind to it and put the work in.
We look forward to seeing the work. We look forward to seeing the game starting against Florida State. Tim, just thank you so much for the time you've given us. Best of luck this season. Roll Tide. Thank you.
Roll Tide. Thank you.
Appreciate the time of Tim Keenan III. Look forward to a great season coming up for him with the Alabama Crimson Tide. It was good to see Kalen DeBoer yesterday meet with the media for the first time in fall camp as he gave his thoughts immediately following Alabama's first official practice as preseason training is underway in Tuscaloosa. Here's Coach's Checklist, everything you need to know from Kalen DeBoer's address to the media.
The question is always going to be for the guys, as I just addressed them, is can they sustain it? That's what it was in January when they brought the intensity, and early on you could tell these guys were determined, and that's been the challenge to them. Question I keep asking them and ask them again, and it's the season, it's a practice, it's a play. It's sustaining the intensity at the level from start to finish. Yeah, he's his trajectory is going up. Deontay, his leadership is the thing I think that's really come out. So that's exciting. He is going to be limited, and just the number of reps, the volume, I guess the best way to put it, and what he can take as expected. And that was going to be the plan, just with his timeline from the beginning. But it's great having him out there. I think he feels really good about being out there, mentally and physically. I think he's in a really good spot. But there's still progress to be made as we build for the first time. I think they've all taken steps through the summer. And you can see they are definitely more comfortable with the install. A lot of it's the reps they get with the play concepts they have, but the footwork and just the confidence with that. And, some of the new things that we've added in. So Ty and Austin, those things are still new this spring. And, they've now become very comfortable with it's subtle stuff. But, probably Keelan's going to be the one that, you're going to see the biggest jump naturally, and I feel like that was good. I mean, he's making quick decisions and not sitting there thinking too much. But I felt all of them did. I think Ty, we've talked about all the quarterbacks, but just the gimme, the ones that are just should be 100% making those plays all the time. And I really felt like he did that. He got probably more opportunities just because of the way the plays developed to have more of those gimmies, and those gimmies add up. Gimmies are 5-yard gains that turn into 15 and 20 and sometimes explosives, and they keep the chains moving. So I like the mindset of our quarterbacks, because when you can trust your quarterback to go through his progression and be okay with checking it down and not forcing something, you can call, as a play caller, a lot more balls down the field and know that it's not just going to be an incomplete pass or an explosive play. There's going to be a progression, and it's going to be some type of movement down the field. It's going to put you in manageable down at distances, whether it's second, third, or fourth. We'll start out pretty consistent with probably how we finished the spring. And again, Keelan's reps continue to build up at, from what it was in spring, where he was primarily with, the 3s and 4s. But here early on, you're just installing, and you're trying to give each quarterback, along with each other position and player, the reps of the install. And then, once you get past that first kind of round of installs, then you really start kind of probably dialing it in at that time. But we'll play it by ear as we go, because if someone separates themselves, 1-2 guys, then you do make adjustments along the way.
And we close out the show by visiting with one of our friends on the network, Bobby Humphrey, who, of course, was a great running back for the Crimson Tide in the 1980s. His connection with Alabama has continued all throughout the years, especially with his son, Marlon Humphrey, playing for the Crimson Tide, and he continues to play at a very high level for the Baltimore Ravens. But Bobby is in the spotlight in large part thanks to Nothing But a Winner, as he and former Alabama players have been featured in this new film that's in theaters today. Check out more information at nothingbutawinner.com. Bobby Humphrey joins us to tell us about the film, plus give us some thoughts on Alabama football and some memories of growing up in the state of Alabama, loving the Crimson Tide, knowing about Bear Bryant, and then getting to know Coach Saban down the road as well. Here's a fun conversation with Bobby Humphrey.
First of all, Bobby, roll tide. It's good to see you. How's the summer going for you?
Oh man, roll tide in the summer is going great, man. I just can't wait to. We got a few days to wait, but the film is going to be released on July the 31st, which is this coming Thursday. I'm pretty excited about it, man. My daughter and my son was involved in it, and they let Pops be a part of it. So me and a lot of other former players, I thought I was going to get the boot after they showed me the list of people they wanted to interview.
Yeah, of course, so many great names throughout Alabama football history. And I'm sure you've been involved before in some projects like this, trying to chronicle Alabama football, its glorious past, its great present. But what made this opportunity stand out for you and the team that put the film together?
Well, first of all, the one thing that made me stand out was because it kind of got an entire overview of the entire program from the start of when Coach Bryant was here all the way up until Coach Saban. So it kind of like got two different eras and at two different times with two of the winningest coaches, along with a national championship in the middle there by Gene Stallings. But it had an opportunity to get some of the guys of old who I idolized and who I remember playing, and then some of the guys who knew under the Sarah Saban era, like my own son, Marlon Humphrey, and the national championship runs that Coach Saban went on to win a total of 6. And I think the camaraderie of just being around all of the guys and being able to just have a big family reunion, so to speak, in terms of guys, being involved and being a part of putting this film together. That's the thing that kind of drove home for me.
And for you as well, getting to grow up in Alabama as Coach Bryant was making a name for himself, winning those 6 national championships. Just what are your earliest Alabama football memories, and specifically memories of Coach Bryant? How large of a figure was he?
Oh, well, there were a lot of things I thought I knew, but I didn't know. I can remember him being on the sideline, and when I saw Cokes in the upper deck at Legion Field when Alabama would play their ball games there at Legion Field. But I never knew all of the things that he had done and behind the scenes and the impact he had made on so many people's lives, including his own players, especially during the time of the civil rights movements when he actually was right there hard in the middle of it when he was trying to integrate the team and bring in black ball players and the things that he had to go about doing. And all of this is in the movie, all of the things that he had to do in order to kind of make it a reality. It was just a thought about thing for him. He had tried to do it other places. But when he got to Alabama, it was like, somebody, he did his handiwork. He sat down and he kind of mapped it out how he was going to do it. And then it came to fruition with the first black player to ever come to Alabama and sign a scholarship and play in a football game. So that part of it, of history, was one of the things that I think I hung my hat on once I got into watching the movie at the premiere. And it's something to make you feel very proud of where we've been and where we've come and where we are now.
Great parallels between Coach Bryant, Coach Saban. You were part of the group that was playing kind of in between those two eras of Alabama football, between Coach Bryant and Coach Saban. Just how remarkable is it that Alabama, of course, a lot of schools have one legend like Coach Bryant, and that's kind of it for the rest of their history. What does it say about Alabama that so many other coaches have been able to come to Alabama and win? And then obviously we saw Coach Saban do equal to Coach Bryant in terms of the 6 national championships.
When you think about it, you don't really think that somebody could actually outdo what Coach Bryant did. When I was coming along and I played at Alabama, winning one was kind of, the norm. We just wanted to win one in the time I was there. But I never fathomed a coach could win 6 or more. First of all, I couldn't fathom a coach winning 6. And then now Coach Saban's come along, he's won 7. Will we get the chance to see anybody win 8? I mean, and just think if that coach just so happened to be Caleb DeBoer. Who knows? I mean, we got the best 2 coaches in college football history at the same university, at the University of Alabama. But can that happen? Now, I wasn't a part of it. I was kind of in the middle, and we had some dark times. And the film did click that too, Perkins came in right behind Brian. I played up under Perkins, and I split time with he and Coach Bill Curry. And then the program kind of sunk a little bit, and then Stallings came in, picked us back up. Then after he left, the program kind of sunk a little bit. And really during that time, we had a hard time with trying to replace a coach and to get a coach. You had Franchoni that came in and used Alabama as a stepping stone to get to his dream job, Texas A&M. Go figure that. Then you had Rich Rodriguez, who I think, and I don't put this on record, but I want to say, did he turn the job down?
Basically his for about a 24-hour period, but never put pen to paper. Yeah, kind of went back on it after he saw time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, come on, this is like the premier job in the country to be able to coach at the University of Alabama. But that just goes to show you how far the program had kind of sunk a little bit in terms of replacement. And then Coach Saban comes along and brings us back to where we belong, on a national stage with multiple national championships. Pretty good. Let's think of how many times he played for it. Although I wasn't fortunate to win one, but for crying out loud, my son was there and I was there in Arizona and down there on the field with him when they won that national championship. It was just like I had won it. And as a player, but I had a chance to experience that. And to be able to have those two coaches coach at the same place, and you got number one and number two as the greatest coaches of all time. Now, everybody can determine who could be their number one and who could be their number two. A lot of people say because Saban did 7, then he's the greatest coach of all time. Coach Saban, even in the documentary, says that, hey, he thinks the greatest of all time is the Bear. So, now he didn't go into the detail of explaining why, but if you think about this right here, think about the things Coach Bryant was saying and preaching, and then the things Coach Saban, it's almost like, and I'll go out on a limb and say, no, they have never met. They never talked. I don't think they have, but if, to my knowledge, but they almost was like they were identical. Coach Bryant talked about the little things. Coach Saban talked about being where your feet are. Coach Bryant talked about taking, one day at a time, getting a little bit better every day, Coach Saban talked about the process, which basically means there's a process you got to take by doing everything right every day. And they had this persona about themselves that they were determined and they were going to be physical. I can remember Coach Saban saying at his press conference, when he first got hired at the University of Alabama, he said, I want people to remember us and I want them to say, we hate playing them guys. And I'm telling you, he built that standard there that people hate playing against Alabama because they were going to be out physical and they were going to have the mental toughness. Exact same thing that Coach Bryant.
That's so good. And of course, we mentioned your connection with your son, Marlon, getting recruited by Coach Saban, playing for the University of Alabama. Just first of all, tell me about how good of a recruiter was Coach Saban? Because obviously Marlon was a legacy player, grew up in Hoover, right close to the University of Alabama, but you got to see Coach Saban as the recruiter. What was that like?
Man, it was great. It was, when Coach Saban came to my house, he closed the deal. He basically closed the deal. Marlon was considering a couple other places, one being Florida State, who was very, very high on his list. But when Coach Saban came to the house, deal was done. It's like he's the perfect closer. So I can't imagine, he don't lose very many, not when he show up. So I can remember him coming to the house and two things he did. One, he did some DB drills in my living room in his suit and shuffling he was teaching Marlon how to shuffle his feet and, stand in front of the DB. In front of the wide receiver. That was impressive. The other impressive thing he said was, I might be the head coach, Bobby, but, I coach the DBs. I think of myself as one of the greatest DB coaches in the country. So why wouldn't I coach the DBs if I'm the best DB coach? And I'm thinking, you coach the DBs? And I'm thinking to myself, son, if you don't go down there, I'm going to hog tie you and take you down there. This guy he has the recipe for getting guys to get to the next level. And he going to put his hand on you. I know it's kind of tough you know, playing for him and being coached by him, but he can't be telling you but all the right things. So that's what that recruiting process is like. He is a closer.
That's certainly good. And obviously, it led to Marlon being a national champion in Alabama, first-round draft pick for the Baltimore Ravens. What can you tell us about his summer and getting ready for another year in the National Football League?
Marlon is a business person on and off the field, even in his off season. He's very diligent in working out. He's very diligent in making sure he take care of his body. He do the proper things. He and Derrick Henry probably do go above and beyond the call of taking care of doing the things to take care of their body. He came home a little bit for this summer. He didn't spend as much time here as he spent in the past. I think he did a lot of stuff up in Baltimore this past year, more than he's normally done in the past. But he should be there. I think they're going into their fourth or fifth day of training camp. And he was excited, ready to go, in shape, made all the testing that they had to do. And he has started the Breakfast Club, which is a 6 a.m. workout in the morning there with the Baltimore Ravens. And they called it the Breakfast Club. And you got to be there at 5:59. If you're there at 6 o'clock, you can't come in. So they lock the doors. You can't be late. So they've started that. So he is primed and ready. Only thing missing is that 9 years, he's going into his 9th season, and they have not made it to the Super Bowl. So I'm hoping that this year is the year. You know, you think about high school, he played in 3 state championships when he was in high school, won 2 of the 3. And then he played in 2 national championships at Alabama, and he was 1-1. And he's yet to get to the Super Bowl. So hopefully this will be the year where it all comes together. They've had a good offseason. Eric DeCosta has done a good job of putting together a really, really good team. The secondary probably is about as strong as it's ever been. So they even shuffling some people around. I think Marlon going to play a lot in the slot this year based on what I've been reading, because they got 2 solid corners. Nate Wiggins, who was a first-round draft pick from Clemson last year, had a very, very good rookie campaign. And Alexander, who played at Louisville, who played at Green Bay, as well as the other cornerback that they signed, both have been outstanding players throughout their NFL career. And you got Kyle Hamilton, and you got the first-round draft pick, Malachi Starks from Georgia. So secondary is loaded. They got some great pass rushers in there. They signed D-Hop as a wide receiver. You got King Henry still back in the backfield. He just signed an extension. All the players in place, and now we just have to have some good fortune and avoid some injuries. And hopefully we'll be playing in that last game of the NFL season, and that's hopefully the Super Bowl.
We're certainly rooting for that for Marlon and the Ravens. Bobby, as we round out the conversation, again, the film's coming out on Thursday, July 31st, Nothing But a Winner, taking a look at the great history of Alabama football. What do you feel like fans are going to enjoy most when they settle into the movie theater and get to watch this for the first time?
The fans are going to enjoy an inspirational, motivational movie that's going to inspire them because of all of the things that the team went through, the adversity, the challenges, but more importantly, the ups. You know, they got the part in there where Coach Saban and Jalen Hurts, you know, where he was basically benched in that Georgia game, and then the next year he came off the bench and won the Georgia game. So they won both games. One, he got benched because the offense wasn't productive. I'm quite sure that wasn't a good feeling. He expressed that. But in the same game a year later, he comes in because Tua gets hurt, because Tua gets an injury, and he wins the game. Things like that. Things about Coach Bryant, how his players respect him and honor him, and especially during the civil rights movement when they were integrating the team, and how Coach Bryant promised that he would take care of them and be there for them, how those players expressed that. and all the things that Coach Bryant did for him. So you're gonna cry a little bit, you're gonna laugh a little bit, but you're gonna be very emotional, and you're gonna be excited, and you're gonna be inspired when you walk out the theater. So if you go to nothingbutawinner.com, and then you can pull up where you can purchase tickets. You pop in your zip code, and it'll put you right at the theater you need to be there in your community, in your area, throughout the entire country. So we're excited about it. I know you're going to love it. Marlon and my daughter and the Castills and all of the executive producers and all the people that was involved, even all of the players and coaches that did interviews. It is going to be exciting, and I would encourage you to take a look at it.
We're thrilled for it. Well, congratulations to you, your family, obviously the Castiles as well for their involvement. So we're really looking forward to this picture coming out for Alabama fans, and maybe some fans from some other schools take a look at the great history of Alabama football. But Bobby, just thank you for the time you've given us. We look forward to catching up with you again here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. All the best. Roll Tide, sir.
Thanks so much.
Nothing but a winner. Certainly check it out this weekend if you're able to at select theaters all throughout the state and around the country as well. Nothingbutawinner.com for more information. We appreciate the time of Bobby Humphrey. We appreciate the time you've given us on this Thursday afternoon. I want to say thank you as well to Tim Keenan III. Thanks to Cole Price and Lexi Graber from our Advantage Center offices for setting up that interview with him, as well as Bobby Humphrey for joining us, as well as the University of Alabama providing the video of the Kalen DeBoer comments you heard during Coach's Checklist. Huge thank you to Ethan Caravan, our producer, who put this entire show together. And thanks again to all of you for watching. Again, this is our final episode that we have in the month of July, here on July 31st. Next week, it'll be, of course, August. We'll have more conversations about Alabama football, as preseason camp will be in its first full week. And then we will get closer and closer to kickoff on August 30th against Florida State. But we're glad to have you with us for this journey for the 2025 Alabama football team that truly began this week during the hot weeks of July and leading into August in Tuscaloosa. For everyone with the Crimson Tide Sports Network, I'm Roger Hoover saying thanks for watching and Roll Tide.